So we are talking about Michael Jordan's last season of the 80s. This is his last, this is the first, not his last, but the first season where Phil Jackson now enters the picture. So Phil Jackson had been on the team the last couple of years as an assistant coach and was really a sponge soaking up information for a guy named Tex Winter, who is basically the triangle offense's father. It's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And Jerry Krause really liked the triangle offense, who's the general manager. And Jerry Krause did not like the fact that Doug Collins did not like the triangle offense. Doug Collins was most concerned with how can we keep Michael as the best player in the league because that's our best chance to win. Both Doug Collins and Michael Jordan felt the same way in terms of the best way to win is when the ball's in Michael's hands.
Yeah.
Right? Tex Winter was like, look, Mike doesn't always have to be the recipient of the score. It can be done. There's a different way to do this. It's more team oriented. Phil Jackson, this is a guy who used to play for the 70s Knicks, a team that is historically known for ball movement, passing. That was like the first big like teamwork, team chemistry type team. Like that, you had the Celtics in the 60s, but with Willis Reed, Clyde Frazier in the early 70s, and Phil Jackson was on the all rookie team with them, and basically lots of ball movement, lots of passing. So it made sense that he was pretty open to the triangle.
Yeah.
But
the part that was really weird to me about that was like Michael Jordan, like he said that he wanted to be like be considered like similar to like Larry and Magic Johnson in terms of like be considered a great like them. So if you looked up to guys like that, and you saw the way they played, like yeah, sure they scored, but they definitely were like very pass heavy. You know, like their teams were facilitating teams. You know what I mean? So I find that interesting that he wouldn't realize that to begin with, but he did. I'm pretty sure he wanted to do it his own way, obviously. But
so that kind of brings me into what I'm about to bring up. So if you look at his game log,
hang on, I have a quick question. This is gonna make me sound really dumb. So Phil Jackson made and the Bulls and whatnot made the triangle famous. Who invented triangle offense though?
Tex Winter. Tex Winter is the father of the triangle. That's what I said before. Tex Winter is the father. His picture will be on your screen. He's the father of the triangle offense. He's this old man, but he's going to help them. What do you call it? He's going to help the Bulls going forward with Phil Jackson because he's going to become, instead of being cast away to like not being able to be on the bench, Tex Winter is going to be like the main assistant head coach here.
Yeah.
Which will be the difference in the system. Now, Michael Jordan still averaged 33 points a game in this system for the season, right?
Yeah.
I want to show you some of the games that he's had in this system to prove a point. Yeah. So I believe this is the year where he hits his career high. It's correct, 69 points.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing this up, 54, 52. Michael Jordan, to a Kobe Bryant level of immaturity, hated the triangle offense. He detested the fact that the ball was going to come out of his hands. I think the quote in The Last Dance was, the triangle offense means that a guy like Bill Cartwright can have the ball with 5 seconds left. And according to Michael Jordan, that's not an equal opportunity offense. That's fucking bullshit. It's one of my favorite quotes from The Last Dance.
Yeah.
And it shows that he felt that way because this guy's dropping his career high in an offense, shooting 37 shots, basically looking at each time like, oh, you want Cartwright, you're open? Fuck him. Dunks.
And he's 18 rebounds. Like,
he's doing it all, which means he's literally getting the rebound, bringing it up court, and shooting it. No one else is touching the fucking ball.
Yeah.
But that's why I really wanted to bring this up, because Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson, to an extent, were butting heads in this first season.
Yeah. And as you can see, usually the outcomes of seasons, there's if you like dig into it, you can always kind of see why a team doesn't advance or go to that highest level.
The new plateau. Well, that's kind of a point. That's another point I wanted to make as when we talk about the playoffs. The second thing I wanted to mention is I'm pretty sure this is the first year where we get more out of Scottie Pippen in terms of like obvious statistical output. This is his first All-Star year for Scottie, right? Here. And he's putting up, this is from an assist perspective, almost doubled his assists, came close to doubling his assists. 2.6 steals, 1.2 blocks, 16.5 points a game. He's really embracing the role as a point forward. The triangle offense is really good for Scottie.
Yeah.
Because he can use his point forward skills, which isn't a thing really at this point, unless your name's Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
And I guess Larry Bird to an extent too, like you were saying before. But I think actually to answer that question and why you think that other guys, I think without Scottie filling this role, maybe it's a lot. I mean, obviously, it's a lot harder for them to get in the door and to break through because they did need an unselfish guy. So it's interesting that you bring that up. I agree with you to that extent.
Yeah. Scottie, and they say it in the doc too. Like Scottie is the perfect second guy for Michael. Like it works perfectly. Like you got someone who's extremely aggressive, and another guy who seems like very passive. But Michael like grooms him into the player, like the player that makes it work. You know.
Right. They're both going to play all 82 games here, and so before this point, Michael had no other All-Stars on his team, and he made it to the conference finals. Right.
Yeah. Scottie was an All-Star the year before?
No, this is his first All-Star year.
Okay.
With Scottie in the All-Star position, where did they finish here? Because I want to get into MVP in a second.
Yeah.
So they finished 55 and 27. That's good for second in the East. I want to make sure that that's second because I seem to.
Yeah, because the way.
I'm going to go to playoff stats really and just make sure. Number 3. See, this is why I checked. Because I saw Detroit. I know Detroit's in their division. And I know the conference stats are a little wonky here. So the Bulls will finish as the 3 seed with 55 wins, even though they had the second most wins in the conference. Thank God they changed that rule. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
That was really annoying.
Yeah, it is super annoying, especially to track like for you want to look
like where people rank, where they finish for the season. It's incredibly annoying.
Yeah.
So we got Philly at 53 wins. Detroit, they just came off a championship season the year before when they beat the Bulls in the conference finals.
Mm-hmm.
They would then that was the year they faced the Lakers, right?
Yes.
The first year
Magic Johnson got injured and
so they're getting ready to go on their second run, right? Almost hitting 60 wins. Lakers are able to hit 60 wins.
How many times have the Lakers, like how many straight years have the Lakers had 60 plus win seasons?
That's a good question.
Is that like I noticed that after each year they're like the number 1 seed and stuff, like they really were dominating the West.
Yeah, well, that we discussed that in Magic Johnson's breakdown, available on our archives if you want to check that out, where we saw that that's the type of guy that Magic was throughout this entire decade of the 80s.
Yeah, you could really understand why he broke down. Like
maybe also, but besides even that, you got to look at it like this is still the 80s. Like they're still so far behind in medical stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been his 8th finals.
True.
So that like that's so many. Like if you look at it, like LeBron got his first major injury after his 8th finals. It was the same thing.
No, yeah, that's true. I'm trying to look at. Sorry, I was looking to see how many of these were 61 seasons because you asked me that.
Oh yeah,
about half of them, give or take. I think it's like 5 of these are 61 seasons.
Yeah, and then he has some 58 in there. Like they dominated.
They were dominant. They dominated the 80s, pretty point blank. And when we did Magic's legacy breakdown, we decided that Magic Johnson over Larry Bird for the totality of the 80s.
Yeah.
So
and it's crazy. Like the Lakers have never done that again. Really.
Yeah. I mean, just to show the reign of dominance and the idea that the West is not what it is in today's NBA or even the NBA the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Where the West is really difficult.
Because the only era that the 2000s would have been the closest to that, and it couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. And but even still, and it was still for such a shorter period of time.
Yeah.
But this is the closest MVP race on record. I'm pretty sure one of the closest MVP races on record, especially how the first place votes are given out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we said that Magic was right to win this MVP. 63 wins, 22 and 11 and a half.
Yeah.
Right? Charles Barkley, who to this day feels like this should be his MVP. 25 and 11 with 4 assists and almost 2 steals, shooting.
There's a gap in the win difference, right?
A huge gap between Magic and the other guys.
Yeah.
And
so
of course, like MJ with his 33 a game.
Yeah, and I think what we mentioned before, but this is what I'm thinking right now, is it's simply because Magic was so dominant throughout the whole 80s that they were just like, we can't give this guy like we have to make it harder for the dude, because it should have easily been his. Like, I don't think it should have been that close.
What, Matt, for Magic?
Yeah.
Where Kareem isn't on this list. This is his last year, I'm pretty sure, for Kareem.
I don't know. I think Kareem. Oh wait, this is 8.
This is 89-90. I'm pretty sure this is his last season.
Yeah,
double check. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before.
Because I thought
no, he's done. He's done. You were right.
Yeah,
I was wrong.
Because I remember this was Magic's chance to do it without him.
Yeah, this is just Magic and James Worthy's team. He does have another 20-point scorer on his team, but he's Magic Johnson. He should have another 20-point scorer on his team.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like
So but that's also why the MVP voting was probably closer, because I'm sure they looked at it like you got another 20-point scorer on your team and these other 2 guys don't.
Yeah, but I mean, how much, like, in terms of what Scottie's doing for the Bulls,
it's not as much statistically as what James Worthy is doing.
I don't know. It's pretty close.
It's not, though, because James Worthy's averaging over 20 points a game. Where is that, stupid?
Yeah, but Scottie's averaging about 17, almost 17. It's not like it's a huge gap in points, and Scottie's probably averaging more assists and rebounds as well. Yeah, that's why I say it's close, because it's like Scottie's giving
definitely close
7 and 7.
Yeah. But James Worthy's also considered the veteran at this point. Like, he's done stuff in the league. Like, so I think in this year, people are looking at it like, I feel like, do you think Magic has the best stats here? Or do you think MJ has the best stats? Or Barkley? 25 points on 60% is no joke.
In terms of just stats,
yeah,
I'd probably go. I feel like it's close between MJ, because how many guys have done that what Magic did? 22 and 11. Not that many.
It's a pretty short list.
Yeah, but how many guys have done 34, 7 and 6? Like,
another incredibly short list.
That's what I'm saying. Like what Barkley did is great. Up to that point, it's really great, because only like a couple guys. Well, I don't know, because if we're counting just the 80s, it's I don't know. There's a good amount of guys that's averaged over 25 and 11. You know.
Yeah, well, it was also a lot more one-dimensional in terms of, like, your best player got the ball a little more.
The thing about Barkley, though, is him being 6'7", or 6'6", sorry, 6'6", and being such a rebounding beast, and like things like that.
Sure he's also got. I don't know if he has another All-Star on his team, but I'm pretty sure he's the only one in scoring 20 points a game for Philly.
I think that.
Yeah.
One of the Dawkins were like, when I looked at the series, like, they played a big role. I can't remember if it's Johnny Dawkins.
Hersey Hawkins.
Hersey Hawkins.
He's playing 2 guard for them. He's at 18 points a game. He's shooting. Almost shooting 3 threes a game.
Yeah.
For this time, but I think I'm still going to give it to Magic. I feel comfortable with that. 65.
Yeah, I mean, him getting like 5 more wins, like you gotta. respect it at least a little.
Oh, I respect it a lot. I think that, especially considering he's only got the one MVP, like it's not, people don't have that MVP.
Yeah.
Like they're not tired of giving him the award yet.
Not to do this, but kind of to do this. They were first in the West probably 7 or 8 times, more than likely, right?
Yeah.
LeBron James dominated the East during that 2010 run. My whole thing is like he had some teams that had like pretty bad records, and they just like you shouldn't be the 4th seed in a very easy East, like shit like that.
This is the era where the regular season matters. Like if we're really going to dive into that, the regular season,
and that's what makes it even worse. Like it's like that's what makes it even like build up Magic's legend. You know what I mean? Like it just makes it. That's the type of shit that like when you start comparing things, like it makes it so much closer than people think.
True, that's true.
I have a random question really quick because it's in my brain. What's that weird nickname for Charles Barkley about rebounding? It's like
big.
The round mound of rebound.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, he was a load. I think my favorite thing that Charles Barkley did throughout his career was, and I didn't realize it until I started like really researching him, was he would catch the ball on the rebound and literally run like it was his gimmick that he would run as fast as he could through other humans to the rim with the defensive rebound on like he would go coast to coast and try to take you out on the other side. And I remember listening to him in an interview, and he was like, "Listen, if you see my fat ass coming, you're getting out of the way. You're not gonna. You might take one charge, but you will not take the second one."
Yeah,
that shit had me dying.
Yeah,
but let's move into the postseason.
So at this point, how many MVPs does MJ have? 2?
He's only got the one that he stole when he was a little young.
Oh yeah, true. Singular. And then he gets a lot during the peak
during the '90s run, where he's going to do something similar to what Magic just did in the '80s.
Yeah,
with the domination. That's why it's interesting that you bring that up because we're about to see that happen after this season. But we got Bulls versus Bucks, right? So
that's so fun. Like before. Just imagine being in that. Like we weren't born at this point, but when you have 2 superstars, like this is literally the Kobe LeBron, being able to meet up and like go that year, that 2009 year, where they're supposed to meet up, and then but this time this actually happened.
Well, like, do you know what I think people really thought in this time? I think people really thought, fuck, the Pistons better not make the finals again. It better be Celtics Lakers, or I'm going to be upset. That's probably what a lot of people thought. Because I think Bird's still putting up numbers.
Yep. This is in 1990. No. I'm talking about 91 when the Lakers and
you jump into gun.
No, I know, but I'm saying like just thinking about it. Imagine being in that time where you're seeing that you're in 1990 and then going into 1991, like that anticipation of we might get the 2 best players of the last decade or something.
Yeah,
against each other. You know
that's what made the '87 final such a big deal because it was 1-1 Lakers Celtics.
Yeah. Yep.
And exactly what you're saying did happen. Like the 2 biggest stars at the point, but Larry Bird's still kind of in the mix at this point. Hasn't totally fallen off, quote unquote.
I think he doesn't fall off until after 91 because even in 91.
The year after this one is the last chance for all of them. We'll get into that when we talk about it. But Bulls are going to face the Bucks here, right?
Yeah.
This is a team they've faced a lot the last few years. We've seen them go against Milwaukee a few times. Michael Jordan's going to spaz out 37 a game, right? But Scottie with a fire second banana line.
Yeah.
22, 9, and 8 with 2.8 steals and block and a half. Yeah, block and a half. This is when we look at the Bucks, right? And we look at most teams in the NBA right now.
Yeah.
They don't have 2 dominant wings. Alvin Robertson's a point guard, right?
Yeah.
Alvin Robertson's a point guard. Ricky Pierce is a forward. So he's but he's not to the level that MJ and even Scottie are playing at this point. So you have two wings that can just cuff up on the perimeter as much as possible, and then give it to you on the other end.
Yeah.
Through just attacking the basket mostly at this point of the game. But Michael's starting to get that mid-range game, like that's starting to become his bread and butter, where he'll take two dribbles and he'll just jump over his defender, and that's where he'll get his bank shots. Like it's why he was such an assassin from the mid-range, but I think it's also what hindered his three-point shooting during this period, because you're jumping so high in the air, you're releasing it past the, you know what I mean? Like past the apex of your jump when you're supposed to release your jump shot.
The only thing though is like players, I don't even think they weren't practicing it though. Like,
oh, he was for sure at this point. Like in terms of like being in practice, going super hard in practice. Michael Jordan notorious for going insanely hard.
I'm talking about, but they didn't practice 3-point shooting.
Oh, okay. Well, sure, I agree.
Like that, like he was really great at the things I'm pretty sure he practiced on. There's no way he didn't practice on mid ranges, and like the 3-point shot, unless you were considered a specialist, like which even no one's really a specialist in this time, but the ones that are supposed to be like 3-and-D guys,
they're usually just 3 or just D guys in this area.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing at a time for the people who are specialists.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't think MJ was practicing the 3-point. That's why I feel like the 3-point, you can't even talk about guys from the 3-point line. And like after actually looking back and just hearing about shit, like I remember arguing with you about Larry Bird, like, and I feel like you might be like, I feel like if Larry tried, obviously practice, he'd be better, but it goes back to that, like we really don't know if he would have been that great, like you say.
I've said that many a time.
Yeah,
where because of the lack of volume in this era, you're really not sure. That's what we're saying. So I got the highlights of Bulls Bucks up. I have this up for a purpose. Michael Jordan is going to take a devastating foul here that I want to show you. I really want to show you this foul because this is you might get ejected foul for doing this in today's NBA.
That would be really funny if it was just like not even a foul.
No, you'll see it. You'll see it. I wouldn't be wasting this time otherwise. I think this is it right here. So he gets it on this side of the wing. He's going to spin, come towards the baseline. Yeah, watch this. So 3 guys take him and slam him into the ground as hard as they can. They're going to show replays of it in a second. But now Jordan's fucking dead on the court. This was the start of about 1 million different injuries through this postseason for Jordan. Watch this. This is a perfect view of it.
Yeah.
Takes him, slammed flat back. See the thud? Yeah. Oh, if they did this to him in 2020, all 3 of these guys would be out of the game. There's no getting around that. Oh, brutal. Imagine.
You see, but like, that's the point a lot of people make between comparing like guys from here compared to, I mean, guys from this era to that era. But like, it's good that they're not going through that anymore. Like, like I understand, like it makes it hard for you to say, oh yeah, you know, like LeBron's just better than MJ because whatever. Like I can understand why people would make that argument, but like we shouldn't want LeBron to have to go through that. You know, like MJ did not have to go through that.
And look, now he's back in the game.
Yeah, like
and ones.
Like there's no way he didn't take a shot on his hip and just say like, yo, that shit is numb. Keep on going, bro.
Yeah.
Is it soft or is it smart? Is the real question.
I mean,
yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, for sure.
For him, it's just about look. I got to be out there because
of course. Like,
let me get back. So let's see if he's averaging. I want to see how because I like to do this for every Michael Jordan series that we look at.
I like to put it into perspective.
They're averaging 110, so he's putting up about 30% of the team's points.
Yeah, a little bit more than that. Yeah.
A little bit more. But what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say like people look at as like it's a dumb mentality, but like there's I used I used to play on the block, sprain my ankle, and like barely could walk, and I'd just wrap it up and keep playing, and I wasn't getting paid nothing.
Doesn't make you bright by any means.
Being competitive and wanting to play, like this is like I'm sure he was.
You're competitive for that. Imagine this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting to a championship, finally getting through a first round with ease, with relative ease, right?
Yeah, because he just finished having to hit the shot against Cleveland.
This is his second long playoff run. Before this point, and
this is where the shade is gone. You see how it's just brightness. There's no shade on him because he's doing good. We good.
But the next series, he faces Charles Barkley and the 76ers.
Yeah. So I watched game 4 of this series
in its entirety.
Yeah. And I just have like some interesting. I want to recap it like like we're doing for these playoffs. Like,
yeah, talk to me.
So I literally watched and it was just awesome because like for whatever reason they still had like the commercials and shit for the that were like playing at that time. So you really felt like you were in 1990 watching this, you know? Yeah. Like, and the Philadelphia's president was at a press conference for whatever reason, and all I see is, and it starts at the beginning of the game, like kind of what he's saying to the reporter, and he's literally cursing them out. Like I have to send you the timestamps for that, but yeah. And it's just freaking insane, like watching it and thinking about how things are done now. You know, like 30 years later, and it's like, oh, this shit was completely different just 30 years ago. So, and like I just saw little shit like MJ got fouled at the rim.
Yeah.
And they didn't call it. And it was like clearly a foul. He started like screaming at the ref, but he like actually put his head into the ref's noggin.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Like he was like
Rondo did that one time.
Yeah, exactly. But Rondo got either ejected or something.
He was ejected immediately.
Yeah, MJ didn't get anything. There was no technical or nothing. And I'm like, yo, this is different.
This is just different.
Just shit like that.
It makes you not, like you were saying earlier, it makes you not that surprised that people today are like, this game is soft in comparison. And
I could like just thinking about like how cool people thought this dude was. Like when
look at this play right here. This is in game 1 of the series. Barkley's gonna go up for a basic tomahawk dunk here, and Jordan's gonna get all ball. And you can tell that he looks surprised. He's like, what the fuck? How did that happen?
Yeah.
And that added to his cool factor, to Jordan's cool factor. Like all that type of stuff.
He freaking chewed gum in between games. And like that's not supposed to be that cool. But like when he stripped a dude, I think he stripped Percy Harvey maybe?
Percy Hawkins?
Hawkins, yeah. And I don't know why I thought it was Harvey.
Yeah.
But he strips him, freaking goes, does like a quick, easy dunk, and then he just blows a bubble afterwards. Like shit like that is just like he's just like straight, and he's dogging them. Like it was. Well,
that's why I wanted to start. That's why I just have the highlights running from game 1, because you'll see MJ's everywhere here in this whole series. They could not stop him. There was nobody here that could guard him 1-on-1, and more specifically, Percy Hawkins was giving Michael Jordan everything he wanted in the post-up game.
Yeah,
Jordan was able to get to his spot on the block pretty easily. Like, but look at him; he's everywhere. He's scoring. He's on the other end blocking shots.
Yeah, and you can see energy for all this and everything. This is literally right before they muscle up and shit. But watching that game, it was game 4, and I was literally I can see why people like get frustrated looking at it now, because it's like they could have made it so much easier for themselves. They were taking like 18 to 19 foot 2-point shots.
Yeah.
And it was like, bro, take one step back and you get a 3, and you also open up the lane for Jordan.
So let's save that lane talk for the next series, because I learned something incredibly interesting in the Pistons series. We're about to get to it. But Jordan's going to drop 43 against this team.
And 4 steals.
And 4 steals. Yeah.
Wait, he drops 43 in this game?
No,
for the series.
For the series.
Oh, yeah, for the series. Yeah. The game that I watched, he had 45. He had 2 blocks and 2 steals. He was I totally understand why they called him like the Black Cat.
Yeah.
Like, he's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane.
And that's the one thing that I picked up as well from this series is that it's amazing how much he's everywhere. And this is something that I really wanted to point out. He's shooting almost 40% from 3, taking 23 threes. That's not bad. That's pretty good. I mean, he's only making 9, but like 23 threes is like closer to...
That's almost 5 a game.
Yeah, that's way closer to modern day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So I really wanted to point that out because I thought that was really interesting.
I also do want to point this out because this has been a thought. Watching him play, I can see where the difference is with him and Kobe.
Yeah.
At least the 09 Kobe, he was not like that. Like,
what's the biggest difference for you?
Defensively, it was just insane, huh?
Yeah. Defensively was the difference for you?
Yeah, it was like Kobe was a good defender, but like Jordan, like just the way, bro, he was guarding this dude, Charles Barkley in the post. And Charles easily has like 100 pounds on him or something.
A good chunk of weight.
Yeah, he's a big boy. And I watched him guard him in a way that I've never seen like a smaller guy guard a bigger guy. Like he was like while Charles was trying to post him up, he was like moving side to side. So like he couldn't know exactly where he was. So when they threw the lob pass to get it to him, like Jordan would poke it out, like get steals and just make it so much harder for him. I was like, that was just, I don't know. He was fast as fuck. Like he really was like a black cat. Like
he was so quick,
agile.
So quick. His quickness is borderline underrated because of how little we watched stuff like from the past.
Yeah,
it's now becoming like he has the quickest first step ever.
Yeah.
By a good, it's noticeable, especially from this point going backwards. He's going to change his game going into the 90s, to where yes, he's still obviously super quick and he uses all that stuff.
Yeah,
but these mid-range jumpers that you're seeing him take right now, that's going to be way more of his game. He's also going to be looking to pass a little more as we move forward. But let's talk about the Pistons series. Now, you were talking about the idea of spacing the floor a second ago for Jordan. So when I was watching the footage from this series, and we'll break it down a little bit more detailed in a second. The one thing that they said is the Jordan rules work way better when the lane is clogged because they can put more bodies in the paint, right?
Yeah.
The announcers, even in 1990, said if you spread the floor, it limits the Jordan rules. It stops the Jordan rules.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. That brings me to what you were just getting into. How come nobody thought? How this is the Jordan's numbers against the Pistons in the 1990 playoffs. But how come nobody thought about spreading the floor to try and limit those rules? That to me was super interesting. That the announcers were saying it, but it didn't seem like take Jackson, put him in the corner, right? Take Craig Hodges, who was shooting almost 33s here, put him on the other corner, and let Mike and Scottie drive and kick like the 2011 Miami Heat or 2012 Miami Heat.
So back to like the like it's very hard to go into a playoff series and say, hey, our way to beat this is going to be us shooting a lot of threes that we never practice.
Yeah, I mean they did take a lot of threes though for the series.
But
three guys over 23s, that's a lot.
Yeah, but that would obviously they would have needed more. You know what I mean? Like in your in your example, what they didn't cut it. So they needed more, and it's like they're not practicing that. And I just who do you want? You want a guy that's not practicing threes to shoot the shot, or you want Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen to have the ball in the hand and score? Like that's just how they are looking at it at that point.
Yeah, but at the same time, even though they are, I would agree that is. I do think that the triangle offense should dictate some of that a little bit. If you stretch it out, if you stretch the triangles out a little bit, and Michael's on the elbow, put one guy on at the top of the 3-point line and one guy in the corner, and they clearly had 3-point specialists to do it. I just, it's crazy to me, just how no one thought to do this back then. Like, obviously it didn't exist. It would take a forward thinker to do that.
Yeah.
But I think the most surprising thing for me was, like, every time we're watching the highlights from the series, you're going to see at least 2 guys from the Pistons in the paint every single highlight, every single one. And that was the Jordan rules. You do not let him go left. Do not let him attack the baseline. Feed him into help in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And that was the main. That was how they managed to contain him. There's one game in this series where they're going to hold Jordan to about 10 shots, which is basically the entire point. I think it's this. Yeah, they held Jordan to 16 shots. I think this is it. I'm going to keep looking through the series, but
yeah.
Michael Jordan doesn't take 16 shots. He averages for the playoffs. He averages 24 shots.
Yeah. Well, he also had a lot of foul. He got fouled 6 times at the rim.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, it's like it's still like a little bit under, because I'm sure he gets those foul calls plus his field goals usually.
So for this series, or for this entire playoffs, he was averaging 26.6 field goals shot per game.
Yeah.
So this is 10 less in this series, or in this game.
And he's also averaging 10 free throw attempts. So he definitely is shooting less than usual.
Yeah. And they're hacking the shit out of him. But
yep.
So
bro, I saw freaking film from this shit, because I watched like all the altercations and contact and shit that like each team had against each other, because it was not just Detroit handing out the elbows and shit. Like the Bulls were doing it too.
Yeah, that's the era. It just wasn't as efficient, or wasn't the same level.
Yeah, exactly. But I literally saw like Michael Jordan midair and freaking Detroit like slamming him, like just slamming him down, and like so many hard fouls. It's just crazy.
Yeah, but we talked about Michael and when we were talking about how he was not comfortable in the triangle originally, we were saying it's not surprising how he didn't make it over the hump here.
Yeah.
I actually don't think that's why he didn't make it over the hump. My biggest reason for why they lost this series, number one, Scottie's migraine in Game 7. That's the biggest reason they had no chance to win this series when it mattered most. If we're just going to break it down to one thing, if Scottie doesn't have a migraine in that Game 7 from fucking cracking under the pressure, I think that maybe they have obviously a way better chance to win. Second thing, this Bulls team in particular reminds me of the Lob City Clippers.
Nah.
Much like you were talking about, Dario, with Jordan getting in the face of referees. That's the identity of this team right now. They're always bitching about calls. They're telling everybody Detroit's trying to kill us out there.
Yeah.
They don't play real basketball. It's all like, as you can see, Jordan limping. I'm getting beat up every game.
Yeah.
But they needed to stop with that shit and just play the game, no matter what.
The only difference I will say between this and the Lob City is he actually was getting beat the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like those were fouls to complain about. If you're ever going to complain about a foul, is when someone's throwing you on the ground or like elbowing you.
But this is that era. You know what I mean? If the Lob City Clippers played in this era, they would get their ass beat by this Pistons team. Like 100%.
They would not have made it to the fucking conference finals. What are you talking
Whatever.
about?
I'm not even talking about that. My point is, maybe they would if they shot enough threes. But
the
We're not doing this.
The whole thing is that the rules at the time allowed this stuff, and that's just how games.
And so you can't bitch about it, in my opinion.
Unfortunately, like you can, but that's why. But that's why that's the case. When people that are fans of this era, you could understand why they would say it's not fair to compare, because like this dude had to go through this. Like this is not easy to go through.
He's playing this series with 2 sprained ankles, and I think there's another injury that he got in this playoffs just from being every series he's getting thrown to the ground.
Yeah,
and
he's getting
throttled.
Yeah. A little less in the Philly series though, because
it's just because they had less people to guard him.
Friendly over there.
Yeah, friendly Philadelphia. If there's one thing I know about the city of Philadelphia, it's friendliness, I'm sure.
No. It was freaking that the whole thing. Also watching, it felt like playoff atmosphere, like the rowdiness and everything. Like we need that back. Like that shit is awesome.
We're getting it back, and we're recording this during the 2021 playoffs, and even watching Phoenix at home, their crowd's been loud. Like the loudness of the crowds is making a comeback.
Yeah,
but it's funny that you say that because I did notice the same thing.
Yeah,
people are fucking loud.
I miss that shit. That makes that shit a whole different watching experience.
As a fan of pro wrestling, I do love myself a good crowd. But so they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna go through 7 games. I want to get the 7th game box score up. So the Bulls only are able to score 74 points. This goes back to my thing with Scottie Pippen. It goes right back into the old school Jordan rules. Jordan, 31 points on 27 shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hero ball to the max, and they could not win with just Jordan because nobody else on this team could beat them. Sound familiar?
Yeah. Is this BJ Armstrong's first year? He becomes a pivotal like player in that.
This is his first year.
Yeah. So soon, like he's not there yet, but he helps a lot in the future.
Yeah, well, especially considering with floor stretching and stuff like that. But what do you think about this? I think Scottie Pippen cracked under the pressure, and that's why he had the migraine. Really want my opinion.
I don't think you get a migraine like that, man.
You don't think he had one? You don't think he had a migraine?
No, I think he had a migraine. I just don't think it's because of what you're saying. I don't think.
I mean, extreme stress can induce like migraines and bad headaches. And so
if you don't think this guy was under extreme stress, it's his first All-Star year. He has to step up in the series.
I feel like that's very like. You're trying to don't try to write the narrative on this. Like that's crazy.
Basically, the narrative I'm trying to write is Scottie Pippen's a pussy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I don't think he was that scared of it. I think
I definitely do. See, I definitely think Scottie's immaturity is the biggest difference in this series. Like, even besides the migraine, like this is a guy who's complaining about getting beat up too.
He's only 2 years younger than Jordan.
Huh? Say that again.
He's only 2 years younger than Jordan.
I know, but I don't see Jordan pitching nearly the same way. Jordan does complain about the getting beat up, but like we said, at least he's got a reason to complain about getting beat up.
What was in the water at the time? Like, there's no fucking way that these guys at 26 and 24, Jordan looks way older than me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm older than him right now, and I swear I don't feel like I look like I'm as old as he was.
That's funny. I think it was the cigarette smoke in the air more than it was the
probably.
Drank. That's so funny. Bring that up. I think about that a lot. Even when I was watching LeBron at 27 looks older. It's just because these guys are humongous and they're muscle bound rather.
Yeah.
Like. I think it has a lot to do with that.
Or maybe it's because you've been watching them since they were younger, so as soon as they don't look young, they look old as fuck.
Yeah.
True. Pistons are going to win the series. They're going to go on to win the championship against the Trailblazers in 5 games.
Yeah.
Right? I will ask again what I asked the year before. if the Bulls were to get over the Pistons and win Game 7, would they have had a chance here?
Oh yeah, I think
So?
because it would have been, you would have just got the 92 Jordan.
I don't know. See, I don't know if you would have gotten the exact 92 experience. I think that 92.
No, definitely not, because he's already at that point where he's on top of the world, like
yeah,
like, just having fun at that point.
Exactly.
So you're gonna get him dogging them, like probably in that same manner, but just more like ruthless.
Yeah, I definitely think it would be fun to see Clyde versus Michael at this point, when Clyde's still at the peak of what he's doing.
Yeah, it's much more closer than 92.
I agree. And especially in terms of confidence level, they both be on the same level. But
do you think Jordan at this time, Clyde's definitely punching up?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, well, Clyde was that guy at this point, though, too.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's exactly punching up, but I think I learned why he's considered the GOAT. If you combine the 80s and the 90s of his career, it makes sense why people look at him, because he's so different in this 80s run. Like throughout the entire thing, he's just a different type of a basketball player. He's going to continue to win scoring titles into the 90s, but he's quick. He's quicker than he's going to be heading into the next decade. He's more like, he's always going to be this level of intense, but it almost is like unhinged in this 80s run. Like there's no control over what his game is doing. He's just going out there, going ballistic.
Yeah.
And that's it. There's no idea of strategy behind what he's doing. He just goes off, gets his points,
which is a coaching thing again.
I agree with you. That's what I was going to bring up.
And I think that's why a lot of people, to add to that, like why a lot of people consider him the GOAT, is you never felt like it was because of him they were losing. Yeah. It was more so because you needed stuff to add to him to make it. But you just needed the pieces to make it work.
Well, this is kind of what we were saying before. So with previously, there were no other all-stars with him on the team. And now that he's got that first all-star, he's like, this team could have easily beaten that Pistons team. If Scottie was healthy, I think that's a much closer game, especially considering the Pistons didn't get over 100. They didn't reach over 100 points. The East is all about lockdown, slow pace, especially in the playoffs, defensive type games.
Yeah.
And I think I think here's the other question. If the Bulls or just Jordan were in the West, do you think that he would have made a finals in the 80s in the Western Conference?
No. I don't see him, unless there's injury involved throughout the playoffs.
The reason why I bring that up is because
him beating that Laker team.
I mean, yeah, maybe not yet, but I just think the West is more run and gun at this point. The pace is much higher in the West for the Western teams.
Yeah,
and I think that helps Jordan. I think that allows Jordan to score 35 a game, as opposed to the 33 to 30 that he was getting in the East. Because think about it,
well, he was getting at this. In the last 3 to 4 years, he was averaging about 35, almost 35 a game.
Right. I guess my point is, I think the Eastern Conference actually helped Jordan, even though it was tougher defensively, because it could allow him to score 30 to 40% of the team's points and still make it a close game. Maybe in the West, where it's run and gun, this is what I meant to say. Not that he would do better, but in the West, where it's run and gun, that does help his offensive style. But I don't know if they can hold teams to under 100 in the same way. Look at the difference in points scored a game here. We can even look. Everybody's over 100 points, but 110 leads the East, 116 leads the West.
Yeah, but that East team would be 6.
Yeah, they won 18 games.
Or 6, yeah. Oh, and they won 8. Yeah, exactly. Like but they're 5th and 6th in terms of points scored.
Right.
So like, yeah, the top teams of the East are scoring much less than that.
Exactly, and that's why I think Jordan was able to thrive in the Eastern Conference, even though it was a little bit more defensive and physical for him.
Yeah.
I do think that because he was scoring such a high percentage of his team's points, that helped him with the lower scoring games.
Yeah.
But we're about to jump.
That added to his legacy too, because like,
yeah,
that's what gives you so many chances to make clutch shots.
Very true.
Because you're a player that could do it, it helped your team. Like, that's the type of shit that like kind of is just, that's what makes him him. Like, that's what makes him the guy that everybody loves up to this point. Everybody thought he was in that Philly series. The commentator said that Michael Jordan was the best player in the league.
Yeah.
So it's not like, and I know next year we're going to be questioning who did they really think at that time was the best between Magic and Jordan.
Yeah.
But there are some guys, at least at this point, that is thinking that Jordan's the best, even though Magic just won an MVP. Magic's going to lead his team to the finals next year too. So it's like
Jordan mania is in full effect at this point.
Yeah.
In terms of like people riding his beef from a fan perspective.
Yeah.
I definitely think there are people who even seeing the Pistons, like, probably looking at it like, man, Michael is better than that whole Pistons team.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people are looking at it like that. Like I don't understand how he keeps losing to this squad. He's obviously so much better than everybody else on the floor. Whatever. I'm sure there are people.
This part is if that Pistons Bulls team, the Pistons versus Bulls series, those 2 years happened 30 years later, like 2019, the same teams, but you drag them to the rules of now, the Bulls probably win.
Probably. That's a good point.
Yeah. Like, it definitely altered things. Like, there
will be a new NBA record for free throws taken in a playoff series.
Would Bill Laimbeer have had a job?
Huh?
Would Bill Laimbeer have even had a job in today's
Oh yeah,
NBA?
he could shoot. He could shoot threes, so 100% he would have a job.
He would.
Everyone who shoots threes has a job in today's NBA.
Yeah, but you have to shoot good, like really good at the 3-point line.
He wasn't. He was the first. He was one of the first, especially in this era, one of the first stretch big men. But we're getting off topic. Let's jump into the 90s. As Jordan will say, this isn't the 80s anymore. This is the 90s.